What's up YouTube? Welcome to the channel. In this video we will be reviewing the Refina Superflex 3 plastering trowel. Yes, this will be a two-part series. In this first part, this video here, we will be looking at how we like to use this new trowel, the stages we like to implement it in our work, and the finish that is possible with this new product. We hope you enjoy the video. What's up YouTube? So very exciting day for us as plasterers, and that is because we are testing out a new trowel. Now, as you'd see from the thumbnail and the description on the video, the trowel we are looking at is the new Refina Superflex 3. Now, any of you that watch any of our videos or follow us on Instagram or Facebook will know that most plastering that we do, we generally just use something like this, which is carbon steel trowel, and then finish it off with a plastic trowel right towards the end. So why have we gone for this? Well, this particular flexible trowel is an awful lot stiffer, so it's closer to imitating a stainless steel or a carbon steel trowel. But as you can see, this is brand spanking new. It's still got the label on the trowel. It is a very virgin trowel, very blunt edges, not broken in at all. In fact, you can see in the video that it is pretty much dead flat. So this would not be very nice to use while plastering. So what we're going to do here is, you can see that we are rendering at the front of this house today, and we'll also be rendering a bungalow next week as well. So what we're actually going to do is break this trowel in using sand and cement. Then what we're going to do is we're going to move forward in time, try it out on plastering, and then we'll let you know what we think. So stay tuned and enjoy the video. So if you can believe it, it is some 3 months later. I think when we originally did that first cut with the new trowel, it was around June, July time, something like that. It is now in the middle of October, and we have given the Refina Superflex 3 a real good battering. And we thought now is about the right time to tell you our thoughts. But before we do this, what we thought we'd actually do is we'd just show you just the sort of finish that you can achieve using the Superflex 3. Now, the point where we're at on this job here, you'll see that we just flashed this wall on here. Now, I will be completely transparent with you. I did not rough and lay this wall, do the first coat or second coat with the Superflex 3. To be honest with you, it's a bit uncomfortable to lay on. I do apologise for the noise. This is a live building site, so if it's too loud, I'll have to dub this out and put some subtitles on. So what I actually did is I've put this wall on behind me using the giveaway trowel, which is coming in nicely. But now the stage that we're at, if I was to take you off the tripod, so it's had its first coat, its second coat. Now you can see that it's a little bit slimy. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the Superflex 3 now just to flatten these walls in. So what I've done is I've set some lights up as well, so you can also see the finish as each pass is going through, so you can just see how it's coming out. Now, what I will say is this trowel is in no way what you would consider sharp. Now, we did use it for a bit of rendering towards the end of the year, towards the end of the rendering season. But as most of you know, we're obviously testing a lot of trowels out at the moment, and we're also working in the giveaway trowel. So a lot of the work that we are doing is actually with that trowel, so we can get it out to one of our subscribers as soon as possible. But just to give you an idea, anyone that knows anything about Superflex trowels will know that a properly sharp Superflex trowel, you cannot go like this. Because that would cut your finger to shreds, and you can clearly see that my finger is absolutely fine. So this is not razor sharp. However, I don't know how well it is coming up on the screen, it has started to get its bend on the trowel. So we're going to use it now to finish the rest of this wall. Now, as you can see, the wall is still very, very wet. So other than that first coat, second coat, and I did flatten it with one of our Refina spatulas. Everything else is going to be done on this trowel to see the finish that we can get. And I'm going to show you what it looks like at the end. But let's have a look at using the trowel for flattening in. Just using the trowel just to flatten in. What we'll also do as well, towards the end of the video, we'll have the trowel, the light, raking down the wall, so you can see any undulations in the wall. So it's just as you would any other trowel. Flattening in the plaster, really closing it in. Now this has not had, this wall's not had any sponging at all. It's just had 2 coats and flattened in. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to run the rest of this wall using the Superflex, nothing else. And then what we'll do is we're going to catch up when it comes to doing our first wet trowel, see how the trowel performs. Okay, so we are now at the point where we are going to do the first wet trowel on this wall. Now all I've done is I've just run the tops, and just behind the camera it vaults up a little bit. So I've just troweled that already. Just as a quick tip for you, if you are wondering or you're struggling as to when the best time to do your first wet trowel is, there is a very simple tip. We've had quite a few people contact us and say, oh, can you do a video on timing, etc., so forth. The issue with a video on timing is that the timings change depending on what you go on. Depending, if you're going on blue grit, it's different to whether you're going on board, to whether you are going on something like hardwood or bonding. It's totally different. However, what you are looking for is usually about the same. Now when it comes to the first wet trowel, we usually apply a very simple trick. And you'll notice in most of our videos, if not all of them, we're usually applying water with the brush, and there's a good reason for it. It's a simple technique. So if you apply the water and it doesn't scratch the plaster, that is about the right time. So as soon as you can apply just normal pressure, you're not looking to really hit the brush hard, hit the wall hard, put the brush down the wall. If it's not scratching the plaster, that's about the right time. That said, if you left it for 2 hours and then applied the brush on the wall, it wouldn't leave scratch marks either. So you're not looking to leave this for hours and hours and hours. You just want to pay attention to it. Just gently apply the brush onto the wall. If it's scratching the plaster, leave it a bit longer. Come back 5-10 minutes later, try it again. As soon as it's no longer scratching, then you're good to go. The trowel is still fairly flat. I'm applying decent pressure, so fairly firm, fairly flat. We are expecting some fat to come off. That is totally normal. If you're not getting any fat coming off, that means probably that your wall is way too dry. At the same time, if you are getting loads and loads of fat off, it probably means that it's still too wet. But you don't want to keep this on your trowel, you want to get rid of it. So regularly after 3 or 4 passes, get rid of the fat. So now we can come away from the wall. What I'm going to do is I'm going to brush water where I want the trowel to go. Firm pressure. Don't need to go fast at this stage. Some line.
So these, this wall now has had its first wet trowel. You can see, if I take it off the tripod, it's come out fairly okay, pretty decent colour. But bear in mind as well, this has got a 5,000 watt bulb shining on it, so any imperfection you would expect that to show up. So obviously you can see we're trying to be as transparent as we can with this trowel, so you can see what it can do. So for the most part it's showed up very nicely. So what we're going to do now is we're going to leave this for 10-15 minutes, and then we will apply our second, we'll do our second wet trowel and see how that comes out. So now we're at the point where we're going to do our second wet trowel. Now, same as the first wet trowel, if you struggle with recognising when the right time to do that is, there is a very simple technique or trick that you can use. Now, if you were to look at the wall at the moment, you can see that it looks very matte. Now, the trick is, if you put your hand flat to the wall and then take it away, and there's no imprint, there's no sign that your hand was ever there, you can see there's nothing there, that is about the right time. Why is that a useful technique to use? Well, the reality is what basically happens when somebody is wet troweling too early, there is too much moisture on the wall. Now, by putting your hand on the wall and then taking it away, what your hand will actually do is it'll actually pull some of the moisture away from the wall. So if there's no handprint whatsoever, what you know is that there is no surface moisture sitting on top of the wall. If that happens, that is about the right time for your second wet trowel. So that's what we're going to do now. So with this wall here, what we're actually going to do with our wet trowel, as we've done before, is we're actually going to do a cross trowel on our second. There is a good reason for it. You see a lot of people that do a cross trowel as sort of almost like second to last pass. There is a good reason why we don't do that, and that is because usually at that point the plaster isn't really moving anymore, so you're not really gaining an awful lot. So in our opinion, usually the second wet trowel is about the right time to do a cross trowel. There's still a little bit of movement, but you've got that firmness where it's pulled in quite a lot. So that's what we are going to do now. You can see that we've done the top section. What we're going to do is we're going to just run the rest of the wall now. What I like to do is just use the brush and then just run the section of wall that I'm going to wet trowel right here. Nice firm pressure. Trowel's open quite far up. I'm leaning pretty hard on the wall here. And what you want to be looking for, which is why it's very useful to do a cross trowel at this stage, is if you look down the wall, any leftover water that's on the wall is usually a sign that it's a low spot. So sometimes it might be worth just running the trowel again over that section. It wouldn't do any harm to change the water out at this point so it's cleaner. In typical Alex Morley fashion, I'm not going to because I'm lazy. Just brush the fat that was left behind, brush that off. And again, open trowel, decent amount of pressure. Really open that trowel up. Same again. Just brush where that watermark is. If you don't do that, sometimes it can actually get left behind on the next trowel. You're looking to go overlap just where you've been, lean pretty hard into the stroke. So you should really be able to start seeing on the video, this is this is where we've been, a nice matte finish. This is where I've got to go. So hopefully it's showing up on the video just how flat this is starting to come out. So what I'm now going to do is I'm just going to run the rest of the wall doing the cross trowel. We'll come back once it's finished. So this wall is now finished. Total transparency, we just did the final trowel with the plastic. Generally we don't tend to like using the flexible trowels to do our last pass because it tends to really over polish the wall too much. Just makes life harder for the painters. So let's have a look at how it came out. So what I've done is I've put the light right up against the wall so you can see, and this is how it came out. Bear in mind this trowel is fairly new, to be honest, and for the most part I think it's come out reasonably well. I don't know how well that's actually showing up on the camera.
As unfortunately, like most things, the video doesn't really show the finish we were able to achieve using this trowel. So what we actually did is we took photos at the same time this video was recorded so that you can actually see the stills of the wall to see really the finish that we were able to achieve using this brand new trowel. These are those images on the screen right now. Thanks so much for watching the video. We hope you enjoyed it. Possibly it's starting to provide some kind of confidence in this plastering trowel as to what is possible. Stay tuned for part 2, which will be uploaded tomorrow, where we discuss whether we think it's worth you spending the money on this new trowel. Consider giving a thumbs up, subscribing, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thanks again.